Hello, everybody. It's Jen Bengal here from Out of This World Literacy, and welcome to another topic in our Facebook Live Summer Series. If you're watching this as a replay, I'm excited that you're catching it, and if you're live, even better. Tonight's topic is about guided reading versus strategy groups. Feel free to say hello in the comment section. Even if you're watching it as a replay, I would love to hear from you. Let me know where you're from, and we're going to get started really soon. I've been doing this Facebook Live Summer Series. If you want to check out other video episodes, you can go into the video section of my Facebook page and you can scroll through. Oh, I can't talk. Scroll through. This is my third annual summer series. The first two series are still on my videos section of my Facebook page. So if you feel like binge watching old videos, you can totally do that there. And any videos that you see throughout this summer coming up, there's lots of great content there, and it's all free and you can always watch replays. So I have a freebie for tonight's Facebook Live, and this topic I actually covered, I don't know if it was a year ago or 2 years ago, but I talked about guided reading versus strategy groups before. So I just put the freebie from that in this post as well. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Shamika. Hi, Jax. Good to see you on here. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Kendra. She said this is perfect because our district is moving towards strategy groups for grades 3 through 6 next year. So thanks for sharing. Awesome. Hi, Priscilla. Welcome. I know you were in my Lifetime Live just a few minutes ago. I went live in my Lifetime webinar group. So hello, Liz and Jenny. Welcome from South Dakota. Hi, Lauren. I'm glad that you're all catching me live. So tonight I think it's about 10 pages or so in this freebie. Let me first just talk really quickly what guided reading versus strategy groups are. So there's 7 things that guided reading is, and I'm not going to talk a lot about this because I actually did this in a live the other day, but guided reading is about guiding students to develop a network of strategies that all work together to understand the meaning in a text. So we get together in a small group. It's about guiding students to be more productive and more intense. I like to say you get in and you get out, teaching them to read with intensity. It's about teaching students at their point of need or their zone of proximal development, as Leif Vygotsky would say. It's a small group format that allows for daily interactions between the teacher, between the students, and how the student interacts with the text. The teacher engages the students in text discussions and oftentimes focuses on a specific skill for comprehension or fluency, or maybe even vocabulary skill. The teacher makes teaching points after the reading. It's fast-paced, it's productive, and the goal for the group is to read for meaning. That's the primary goal, and to build that network of strategies. So that's what guided reading is in a very quick nutshell. Strategy groups are a little bit different than guided reading. Strategy groups are still small group formats, and you're practicing a specific skill together. They're short-term groupings. They're fast-paced and productive as well. They're highly purposeful and often meet an immediate need. And the main goal in a strategy group is to practice a specific skill or strategy that can be mastered and added to the student's network of strategies. So I have this little T-chart that's in your freebie that you get in the link there. And I'm just going to go over the main differences between guided reading and strategy groups here. Also in your free download tonight is the history of guided reading, which started in the 1940s. I'm not going to go over the history of guided reading, but it's really interesting to see how it's evolved from one decade to the next. So check that out in the freebie. But tonight, let's talk about the differences between guided reading and strategy groups. In guided reading, when you meet with your group in guided reading, you're oftentimes meeting with them with a textbook or a text, that is something they've not seen before. So whatever they're reading is something that they haven't seen before. It's often a cold read. Where in a strategy group, the book that you use with the group could be something that they're familiar with. It could be something that you read together in a whole group. Maybe it's a mentor text. They may not be familiar with it, but they could be. So in guided reading, it's more you're introducing them a new text. But in a strategy group, you can use your mentor text from your whole group lessons in a strategy group to do some reteaching about a specific skill. Also in guided reading, every student in the group often has the same text. So when you're reading in guided reading, everybody's reading the same thing. But in a strategy group, you might have kids reading different texts in that strategy group. Because remember, in a strategy group, you're focusing on a specific skill, some type of comprehension skill or vocabulary fluency type of skill. So if you have kids in your group reading different books, that's okay because you're focusing on that skill. Say, for example, summarizing. Every book you're going to be able to summarize. So they may not even be reading the same book in your strategy group. In guided reading, your groupings are short term, and they're based on students' reading levels or their ability levels. But in a strategy group, your groupings are very short-term. They may be even just for one day, and they're based on students who are struggling with a specific skill. So it doesn't necessarily have to be students all reading at the same instructional level, but they're all having a hard time, say, with inferring, for example. In a guided reading group, in the introduction for a guided reading group, the teacher gives an overview of the text that everyone's going to read together, often decodes tricky vocabulary words or takes the students to a page in that book to show them something that they know they may struggle with. But in a strategy group, to begin a strategy group, the teacher will often set a purpose for meeting. So there's a difference there. In a guided reading group, you're given an introduction to the book we're all going to start reading together. But in a strategy group, you're often setting a purpose. You might say something like, we're meeting here together in this group because I would like to have a conversation with you about inferring. I noticed during our whole group lesson, and as we've been practicing this week, that all of you in this group are going to need a little bit of extra support on understanding what inferring is. So that's why we're getting together today to talk about that. And here's a book that we just read together as a class that I think we can have more conversations about making inferences on together. So that might be a way that you would introduce your strategy group there. So it's a little bit different. In guided reading, there's often a standalone lesson that you prepare ahead of time in guided reading. I like to have 6 components to my guided reading lesson, and it's appropriate for that level range. But in a strategy group, it might be something you do on the fly. So right after your mini lesson, you may notice, oh, everyone's got this inferring thing down pat, except these 5 kids. And they could be at different reading levels, and that's okay. You're going to say, hey, you know what? You 5, come on, let's sit down. Let's do a quick strategy group together for 10 minutes. And you pull them over and tell them, we're sitting down together because I've noticed that we're going to try to do a little extra practice together on this skill. And then during the guided reading and strategy group, some things that are the same is students can read silently during that time. So maybe they bring their own books that they're reading independently to the strategy group, and you talk about inferring with the mentor text that you have, and then you ask them all to read for 5 minutes, whatever book that they're reading, and ask them to think about an inference that they can make from that book. So if you have a kid who's an advanced reader and you have a kid who's a struggling reader, they can be in a strategy group together because you're focusing on that skill. Say, for example, making inferences. So they can just bring their books that they're reading on their own. You're going to model how to make an inference with a mentor text and have them read silently. Maybe give them all a Post-it note and have them make an inference on a Post-it note, and then they can talk about their inference that they made after the group is finished reading. So during guided reading and during strategy groups, you may have kids reading silently during that time. You may, in both situations, guided reading or strategy groups, you may push in and listen to one reader reading. Maybe in that strategy group, if you've got one struggling reader, you want to push in and talk and read with that struggling reader too. And specific strategies are discussed either in the strategy group and in guided reading as well. There's more to the guided reading, but if you're doing a strategy group, that's probably the main focus is that skill. So here's my recommendations. And again, you've got a freebie. This is my recommendations. This is a freebie from one of my previous Facebook Lives, but I threw it in this one as well. Should you use strategy groups? Should you use guided reading? Should you use only guided reading? Should you use only strategy groups? What grade level? What this or that? My recommendation is to use both. I think that there's a place to use both guided reading and strategy groups in your classroom. And so I would do that by knowing during your guided reading, you're working with kids at their instructional level with a specific text, and knowing that your strategy groups are going to be a little bit more fluctuating. You may have a strategy group that you do, maybe you meet like 2 or 3 times a week with different strategy groups, and they can change too, but your guided reading is a little bit more consistent along the way. One thing that you can do to think about who's going to be in a strategy group today. Maybe you want to plan a strategy group that day for 10 minutes or so. And one thing you can do is during your mini lesson, whatever your comprehension skill is, that mini lesson, say it's making connections. And you can listen and pay attention to the class. Who is going to be understanding how to make connections when they go read independently? So what you can do is take a status of the class. And again, this is in your freebie tonight. I don't have this anywhere else. It's just in the link. So this isn't in any store or anything. It's just a little quick thing for free tonight. So what I would do is after I finished my mini lesson on making connections, I modeled, I had the kids help me, we had them turn and talk, I would take a status of the class really quickly. This takes like 2 minutes. While the kids are transitioning back to their desk to begin working, which they'll probably be reading independently, a book that they've chosen that is a just right book for them. And I may ask them to make a connection while they're reading today. And then when we get back together in the share, we'll talk about our connections. So to make sure everyone's actually going to do this, what I can do is take my status of the class. For each kid, I'll say their name and I'll ask them to tell me what they plan on reading and what kind of connection they think they're going to make. So I can write all my students' names down here, and then I'll say their name. I'll just put this on a clipboard at my mini lesson. I'll say, Sarah, tell me what you're reading and what connection you think you're going to end up making. And then I can put a little check here if I think Sarah is ready for independent work. If she has something to tell me, I feel like she's ready, go get started. That sounds like a great thing. I'm ready. I can't wait to hear about it in the share time. And if she needs to be pulled for a strategy group, I can put a little check here. And I can even make a little note. Oh, I'm going to focus on something specific with Sarah here. So after I take a little status of my class, this takes 10 seconds a kid to put their names on here, print a bunch of these. You'll have them for many days and just check if they're ready or if you need to pull them. And then what you'll do then after you have your status of the class, not only does this tell you who might need to be pulled for a strategy group on making connections, it also tells the kids that you're holding them accountable. So during the share, they know they're going to have to share a connection that they made in the books that they're reading. And you're going to have this ready to go. So you can pull all the kids that you wrote, put a check for a pull for a strategy group. You might have 5 or 6 of them, or 4 or 3. You can just say, okay, I want to see so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so right away at our table, and bring your books that you're reading. And then you can just do a quick little couple extra examples of connections that follow up your mini lesson and do a quick little 10-minute strategy group like that. So that's one way of trying that to use it. So I would recommend definitely using strategy groups and guided reading in your classroom. Hi, Tara. She said, do you have them take notes, like putting specific strategies in their notebooks? So Tara, yeah, I have a reader's notebook for my class that I've done for years. I have a webinar all about setting up reading and writing workshop. I go over what's in my notebooks. I go over what I do each day in reading and writing workshops and show a sample like mini lesson and all that and the flow of reading and writing workshops. Let me get you a link to that. It's a free webinar. Let me see if I can, I'll do this. So you can go to jenbinglewebinars.com and you can see all of the dates for my live webinars. They're trainings, they're online, live, free trainings over the summer, and you can register for any of them. When you register, you'll get an email sent to you with a special link. And so whenever the date for that webinar is, you just click that link and you can listen in live to me doing some trainings over the summer. It's pretty cool. It's a little different than showing up to a Facebook Live where you don't have to register or anything. So the webinars you do have to register for. So just go to jenbinglewebinars.com. That reading and writing workshop webinar I'm doing on June 30th. I remember it's a Saturday morning, and I'm going to go over how to set up your classroom library, what's inside a reader's notebook, what's inside a writer's notebook, what a day looks like in reading and writing workshop. I'm going to give you sample schedules. So if you only have 90 minutes a day to teach all of your literacy, I'm going to show you how you can do that. If you have 2 hours, I'll show you what you would do for a schedule with 2 hours and so on. So that's a jam-packed webinar I would really recommend if you're looking to ramp up your reading and writing workshops next year. Definitely. I also go over like where I fit in the vocabulary and spelling and language and all that too. You're welcome, Tara. Hi, Jackie. Lauren says, can you do this for first graders? Yes, you can absolutely pull strategy groups for first graders. Again, you'll just use the text that you read to your class and you'll remind them of the types of skills that you're going over, and you'll do a little bit more modeling. Maybe you do some visual work too by writing things down, but they absolutely can do this. You can do strategy groups or guided reading with first graders. Hi, Becky. I'm so glad you guys came on here. Hi, Jennifer. She said the webinars are great. I've done many. Thank you. Oh, I'm so excited because Wednesday I'm doing the interactive read aloud webinar for the first time. I am super excited. Oh, and you guys want to see what I'm about to post? I haven't posted this yet, but I made it today. Are you ready? I'm so excited. Hold on, let me pull it. So does anyone know who Ralph Fletcher is? Anyone know Ralph Fletcher at all? He actually, close my file cabinet. He actually is an amazing author. If you don't know him, you should, because he writes books for teachers to help us teach writing. It's amazing. So when you're talking about the writer's notebook with your students, he literally has a chapter book where you just read the chapter in that section, and it's like you're teaching the class through his words. It's incredible. I used it all the time. So he has like one for reader's notebook, I believe, one for writer's notebook, just talking about the writing workshop. He's amazing. So I've been writing these read alouds. My daughter is an illustrator. She's an incredible artist. And together we've been working on making read alouds, interactive read alouds. And so we just finished this one. Do you want to see it? It's not available yet, but it will be by Wednesday when we have the read aloud webinar. It's so cool. It's a biography about Mr. Ralph Fletcher, and it's called Mr. Fletcher Teaches Kids to Write. It's so cool. His name is Ralph Fletcher. So inside this book, it's not completely finished inside, but you see you have all of these custom illustrations for my daughter. Isn't she amazing? And then I have the whole story, and then I have language for you during the interactive read aloud. So you actually just have the story, and I give you all the language. So like literally the planning is all done. Look at how cute. How cute is this? So it transitions from thinking aloud to inviting the whole class. Oops, I'm on the wrong side. It's backwards. Inviting the whole class to share after reading. And then in the last few pages, you have all this language for having the students talk with a partner too. So this goes over Ralph Fletcher and his life. And it's just a really cool story because it shows kids how he helps teachers. And so Malaya, when she illustrated this, she put some of his books actually in here. She studied, so he has one called The Writer's Notebook, Joy Writing. She's like, isn't she amazing? Look at that. She has like all of his illustrations. And then so you just read the story to your class, and then you've got all of your language in red that you would say during a read aloud. So this isn't published yet. It's actually I just put this together today, and it will be ready though for the read aloud webinar. So this is Mr. Fletcher Teaches Kids to Write. So I would recommend using this read aloud book at the beginning of the school year, back to school. I have a couple other ones. I'm working on building read alouds that go together with the launching first month of school. So I'm excited about that. This is the third book we're publishing. Let me just tell you where it will be when it goes out. interactivereadaloud.com. And the webinar is Wednesday. Yes, I know. Isn't she amazingly talented, Jenny? She said, oh, your daughter's amazingly talented. Priscilla, too. I know. I'm so excited. So the first two are out. One is about Miguel. He's his family is migrant farmers, and they move from Mexico to Wisconsin every year to harvest crops. And Miguel is a rock star at his school in Mexico, but when he goes to Clintonville, Wisconsin, he doesn't feel so smart. So it's about diversity, too. And it's also about kids learning to find the right books at the beginning of the school year, because Miguel has to try and find books that he likes in Wisconsin, and his teacher helps him do that. So that book is already available. Miguel something is the name of it. And then the other one we did is called The Mystery Box, and it's about this girl. It's so cute. Her name is Zola, and she finds, oh, I can grab it. Hold on. Let's see. Here it is. Okay. So this one is available. It's called The Mystery Box, and Zola finds her dad's old writing journal from elementary school in his closet, and she gets up on her tiptoes and opens this box that she's not supposed to open, and she finds all of these books that her dad had written when he was a little kid, and he saved his writer's notebooks. So at the beginning of the year, can you imagine using this book and having the kids thinking about their writer's notebooks and how they might last all year? And then her dad busts her. He comes into the house and he sees that she's gotten into his writer's notebooks, and then they end up spending all kinds of time together at dinner reading over his old writer's notebooks from when he was in elementary school. And so she gets to think about what a cool thing it is to keep a writer's notebook and have that available. So this one is already out. So these are the read alouds. But what I love about them is they're great stories about diversity with amazing illustrations, but they also give you all of that teacher language that you need to do an interactive read aloud, and not just read a book out loud to your class, but you're engaging them in the conversation. So I'm going way off on tangents here because I'm so excited because we just finished the third one. So we have 3 done, and they're all really kind of geared towards back to school topics. So there'll be more coming out. We're going to work on our 4th one soon. Malaya's killing it with the art. But hopefully you can come to the Read Aloud webinar, because even if you're not interested in those books, I'm going to show you how you can actually do an interactive read aloud, how you can go through the 7 steps of preparing and actually teaching the interactive read aloud strategy. It is the heart and soul of all literacy instruction. If you do a really strong interactive read aloud, that is a tool that you can use all year long for any day that you need to do literacy, reading, writing, language, spelling. So interactive read alouds are, without them, I would have no reading or writing workshop. So I really recommend coming to the webinar, at least just to get the training and learn about how important they are and how you can use the interactive read aloud approach with any book that you have. All right, so that's all I have. Oh, could you put these in the class library for children? Absolutely. Yeah, what's great about after you do an interactive read aloud, then you can put these in a special bin, and you can call them like our class books in a bin in the classroom library, and then they can look at them. And because you've already read these to your whole class, even if kids are going to struggle a little bit with the words, if they're a little bit struggling readers, they have the shared experience of the story. So they can look at the pictures, they can look at the story, and they can look at the teacher language too, and think about that in a different way. They may even read it with friends and have conversations with that teacher language too, like in a partner reading. That might be kind of fun. So there's lots you can do with those too. But anyways, I'm going to be talking about all of that on Wednesday in the new webinar. If you're a lifetime member, I will get that new webinar in the lifetime members course for you by Wednesday morning. So you'll get to watch it before I even go live. My sister is actually visiting. She's leaving tomorrow back to Wisconsin. So after she leaves, I'm going to hunker down and finish the webinar. I might actually be able to record it tomorrow, so you may even have it tomorrow night. If you're thinking about what's lifetime membership, that's just access to watch all of my webinars whenever you'd like. So if you are interested in being able to have lifetime access and not waiting to watch live webinars, you can do that. Let me give you a link to that. It's called lifetimewebinars.com. You get all of the webinars for life. Any future ones I do as well. Once you're in, you're in. And that gives you access to all of the notes, all of the bonuses. You can stop their webinars, rewind them, listen to them anytime you'd like. So it's a really cool deal. If you have trouble making live webinars, you can look at that. Okay, I think that's everything I have. Catherine said, I wish the books would be available in a bundle for one price instead of buying them individually. I'm thinking about that, Catherine. The back to school bundle that I'm putting together is going to be 6 books, but I don't have a time frame because my daughter, she's 16, so she's in school, and she's illustrating for me. So it takes her a little while to get the illustrations to me because they are in black and white as well. And so she's doing color and black and white. And I don't know when we're going to have all 6 finished. So I didn't want to put a bundle out not knowing when they were all going to be finished. So they are individually for now, but our plan ultimately is to have 6 read alouds that go with the launching unit for that first month. And then we're going to do 6 read alouds for the biography unit, 6 read alouds for historical fiction, so that these read alouds will tie right into my units of study that I have available in my store. but this could be years, y'all. Like, we've been working on 3 books, and I think we've been doing this for like 6 months. So it could take me a year just to finish one read aloud. Books are an intense project when you're doing such amazing illustrations and custom work. They take a long time to write and publish. So that's why there's not a bundle now. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to sign off, and I hope to see you tomorrow night on Facebook Live. I'm going to be, what am I talking about? Oh, I'm talking about a reader's notebook. I'm going to show you inside of a reader's notebook tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central, so don't miss that one. And I hope you have a really great rest of your evening, and I will talk to you all again tomorrow. Hopefully I'll see you in a webinar, or if not, back on Facebook Live. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.